Hi folks, welcome to this very brief video on calculating workload intensities. So this is one of the potential essay topics, section B, question 7, whatever you want to refer to it as. Whenever you're asked how do you calculate workload intensities or how do you calculate the intensities for an athlete or a group of athletes, there are three key ones that we look at. Okay, now you should be familiar with these from your textbooks and the work that you've done in class. What I'm going to do here is just spend 2 minutes saying what you need to put down for each one if it comes up on the exam. So number one, Borg scale. Please note, first thing, Borg with a capital B, that is his name. Don't put a lowercase b, it's named after someone, so it's always a capital B. What are you going to put for the marks? That the scale goes from 6 to 20. There's a tick. You can also say that 6 is very little effort, or minimal effort, and 20 is maximal effort, just to increase the chances of getting marks. Okay, what else can you say? Well, it's the Borg, technically the Borg RPE scale. Now what does that stand for? It stands for that rate of perceived exertion, RPE. How hard you think you are working, simple as that. Okay, the only other thing that we can credit marks for on the Borg scale, other than naming it, saying it's 6 to 20, saying it's RPE scale, is saying that it is subjective, i.e. it's based entirely on your opinion. You give a score based on how hard you think you are working, as we've just said, rate of perceived exertion. That is a subjective thing. That can actually be a bit of a downside in terms of it's not scientifically accurate. So that's a disadvantage of this method potentially. The advantage is, because it's subjective, because it's based on opinion, it's very quick, it's very simple, it's very easy to use. Okay, so they're the key points on the Borg RPE scale. Okay then, so the Carveon and Principle or the Carveon and equation, right? What key things do you need to know about the Carveon and Principle and the Carveon and equation? Well, first of all, I know red and green should never be seen, but don't matter. MHR, it looks at your maximum heart rate. Please don't put MHR in the exam. It's an essay question, write things fully. But it takes into consideration your maximum heart rate, which is 220 minus your age. So that is going to get you a mark. What else can you say about the Carveon equation? Well, you can also say that it also uses your RHR, your resting heart rate. Again, please don't abbreviate it, put the full term down. This is just a quick slideshow to show you what you need to write. Resting heart rate. Now, why do we put that down? Because that is an indicator of our fitness level. If I have a low resting heart rate, I am fit. If I have a high resting heart rate, I am unfit. I know it's basic, but that's right. Coming back to this one here, this is an indicator of what your predicted maximal heart rate is. But remember, this thing says that all 20-year-olds, in theory, have the same maximum heart rate as each other. All 30-year-olds have the same maximum heart rate as each other. What part of this equation actually refers to you, the individual, is that thing there, your resting heart rate. It's the only thing that gives you an indication of your fitness level, okay? What else can we say about it? Well, we can say that we use this data to calculate your heart rates at 60 to 75% maximum heart rate, and that we call that, Carveon called that your training zone. If you work any lower than 60%, you're not really working your system hard enough to get adaptations. If you push it beyond 75%, you're not really going to be able to work for long enough to develop your system aerobically. So 60 to 75% max heart rate is going to be what you need to work at in terms of your training zone. So that's what you need to know for Carveon and Principle or the Carveon equation. And finally, your 1 rep max. Now this is the unique one, i.e. this is the only one that we can use to calculate workload intensities for someone who is doing a resistance training program, a weight training program, something like that. Both of these, Borg scale and Carveon, they're the two I use when I want to develop running, cycling, swimming, something like that. Or, want to calculate workload intensity for those activities, right? We have had it in the past, a question that says, how would you calculate the workload intensities for a continuous training program? Now, what that wanted was for you to talk about Borg scale and Carveon, but not the 1 rep max. What is a continuous training program? It's where you work for long periods of time without rest and you work at a set pace. That's got nothing to do with weights and reps and sets and things like that. So that question only wanted you to refer to Borg scale and Carveon. So please read the question. If it just says, how do you calculate workload intensities? You mention all 3 of them. If you think it's leading you down a path, go with the ones that you think it wants you to talk about most, okay? But just coming back to 1 rep max, what can we say about it, okay? We can say this. It's the maximum weight lifted in 1 contraction or 1 repetition, okay? So if you used to do a 1 rep max on a bench press, how much weight can you lift in 1 lift? If you can lift it twice, that is not your 1 rep max. You need to make the weight slightly heavier and then go again. So 1 rep max, the maximum weight lifted in 1 contraction. How can we use your 1 rep max to set up a training program? Well, we can do that in the following way. Apologies for the bunched up writing, but what we're showing here is, just get me little arrow pointed on here, okay? If I calculate 85% of my 1 rep max, I can use that weight to start my athlete or my performance on a strength training program. Let's use very simple numbers. Let's say your 1 rep max for the bench press is 100 kilos. I work out 85% of that, which is 85 kilos. That's the weight I am going to start you lifting in order to develop your strength. If I calculate 70% of that 100 kilos, i.e. 70 kilos, that's the weight that you're going to lift in order to develop power. Obviously, it's going to be a slightly lighter weight than strength training, but remember, what is power? It's speed times strength. So even though it's lighter, I'm going to get you lifting that weight a little bit quicker in order to develop power. Okay, finally, if I basically half the weight of your 1 rep max, get 50% of it, that is what I would use to develop muscular endurance, the ability of your muscle group to lift a weight repeatedly over and over again. Okay, so that's how I use 1 rep max in order to set up a training program. Okay, so these are the key things you need to know about each of these practices, each of these procedures.